Yes,
And
indeed.
Rivers State governorship aspirant Tonye Cole is in the studios with us.
Yes, he joins us now to have this all-important discussion on his ambition to become the next governor of Rivers State. Thank you so much. Good to see you on Newsnight tonight. I wonder if you have anything to say about this much talked about candidacy of former President Goodluck Jonathan. But let's come to you first off. I mean, your emergence in April as APC consensus candidate did not go without some controversy. Out of 12 of you, you were chosen, anointed to be the APC candidate. It's not the first time you'll be running to be governor of Rivers State. What exactly is the plan? What's your agenda for the people of Rivers State? What do you think would be uppermost in the mind of any Rivers indigene as they go to the polls in 2023?
So the first thing that Rivers State needs today is dignity. We need to get back, and when you speak to most Riverian persons, you find out that the last time there was really anything that they could hold on to was when Spiff was governor. That's a shame. It goes too far back. It's a long time ago. And so one of the things that we want to bring back is dignity and hope. We want a River State that has mentors, that has people they can look up to, that stands up as number one in Nigeria when it comes to education, when it comes to job, and when it comes to the future.
Yeah, but how are you going to bring back, I mean, you said it in that report, you want to make Rivers State the #1 destination for business, for education, and all of that. How do you plan to achieve that?
So, first and foremost, Rivers State is not a poor state. Let's understand that. Rivers State has always been endowed with three things. The first thing it's been endowed with its natural resources. It's been endowed with very fertile land. It's been endowed with human capacity and people. When you think back about the Rivers man going back into the days, and you think of the Rivers woman back in the days, you saw them on the national scene, you saw them at the international scene. When it comes to entertainment, you have Abani Derego, you have Burna Boy, right at the top of all of that. When it comes to the business scene, you have Herbert Wigwe, you have myself that have hit the top of business. When it comes to judiciary, for example, you had Napo Graham Douglas late now, you had Carrie B. White. So you've had people at the top of academia, at the top of judiciary, at the top of business, at the top of sports, Taribo West, Amasi Meka, all of these people. So Rivers State is endowed, there's no doubt about it. But there has been such a mismanagement of that talent and the resources.
So I have two questions for you from what you've said so far. First, your critics say you're a businessman who knows nothing about politics.
I love it.
And I'm sure this is not the first time you're hearing that criticism. So what do you bring to the table?
So the first thing that you bring, when people say that you're a businessman that knows nothing about politics, one of the things that they miss is that everybody's a political animal. There's no one that does not know anything about politics. Secondly, for you to survive and excel in business, you had better know politics, and you better know politics well. So the one thing that I'm bringing first is that I'm bringing an experience from business that most politicians don't have. Okay. And then I'm going into a field of politics which my whole family has been a part of. So take my father, for example. Very, very astute politician. One of the top politicians in the world. Patrick Delico. Take my upbringing under former Shehu Musa Yaradua. He was one of the people that I would sit down at his feet, watching and listening when my father himself, Chuba Okadibo, and co were building and dreaming Nigeria. That is the vision that I had. That's the Nigeria I know. And so it's a misnomer to think that we don't know politics. What does politics mean in Nigeria? Does that mean that you sit down and you shape the country? Or does it really mean that you want to serve the people? Now, if politics is about service and it's about serving people, then I'm an astute politician.
Well, Magnus Abe also says that,
sorry,
I mean, just to piggyback on this.
From him, because so I don't lose my train of thought from what he said. Ngozi had mentioned about your emergence as the consensus or anointed candidate. Do you think that this is deja vu? Is 2018, 2019 playing itself all over again?
No. So one of the things that you saw in 2018, 2019 was that I was branded as an as an anointed imposition, and that was the branding. Now, there was very little I could do about that because we went straight into the campaign and we just faced the campaign. And there was this unity in the party. You had Magnus Abe fighting on one side and all of that. So it was just a mess in 2018. And that mess ended up seeing APC out completely. This time around, it was totally different. This time around,
is it?
Absolutely 100%. 100% different. So we started off with 10 different riverine aspirants going and consulting for over a month, consulting leaders and consulting stakeholders about why it should be us. And each one had a reason as to why it should be them. After about a month of this consultation, we all were called into Abuja. There were 10, by this time there were now 13 of us that had come. 10 had already signed together saying that whoever emerges, the others will back and stand behind them. 19 elders sat down and came up with a criteria that said, first, all of you would leave the room. You're not going to be a part of this. Secondly, the person who they had always said was imposing, which is our leader, Rotimi Amechi, would not be a part of this at all. And he said, I don't want to be a part of this so that we will not be accused again of imposing. Now I'm going to leave it to 19 of you to decide. We all have different criteria. The one criteria that I came out on top and why I was selected at the end of the day was that I was factionless. I didn't have one faction that was fighting against another faction. What I brought was building a party that was unified. Now, it's not an easy thing. But from my life as partners, drawing up business and partnering with people all over the world and taking interest groups, listening very carefully to what's your interest, which is what politics is about at the end of the day, and bringing all of those interests together and finding what's the common goal that will serve the Rivers people. When the elders sat down to think about this, they decided that if we go for this one, it will faction against this one. If we go with this one, it will bring a division. So we'll continue with the old. But if we go with this man called Tonye Cole, he brings something different. He can actually sit down and we all have a part to play. And that's why I came out.
But what this means is that Magnus Abe, who is also a contender for the APC governorship seat for 2023, is not in agreement with your emergence. The electoral Act talks about the need, if you go the way of consensus, all other contenders must sign up to it. So how is this going to play out with your emergence at the end of the day? And you know, to add to what Magnus Abe said, he said, you know, his endorsement of you or yourself or your person amounts to nothing but selfishness on the part of Amechi, who is, of course, supporting your emergence.
Okay. And that's something that is good. So it has been clear from day one, right, that Magnus Abe has his ambition to become governor, and nobody is standing before him. I'm not stopping Magnus's ambition to go for this. And the place where that is resolved is in a primary. And nobody has ever said that we are not having a primaries. Nobody, no one, I've never said it. Magnus says it all the time. Come and we'll have a primaries. What does consensus mean? At the end of the day, consensus means a majority of people have come to agree. Not all, but a majority of people have come to agree that you are the best person to represent our interests.
No, I believe actually says all.
No, you can. It's hardly. You can hardly find all.
Right.
So what you would always find is that the majority of people will agree that you can represent our interests. But human beings, by virtue of who they are, can disagree with a consensus, and it's purely within your rights.
So what's your plan to patch all of these differences? And if you do become governor of Rivers State, one major issue, environmental degradation, as a result of many years of, you know, oil exploration, and then the IOCs, international oil corporations, who refuse to make their rivers their headquarters. Yes, how are you going to tackle all of this?
Let's start with what was the plan immediately after. So as soon as the announcement came out, I knew almost immediately that there were going to be people who would be dissatisfied because they believe, and in their own right, and I agree with them as well, that they are just equally as good to run. You had Dakuku Peter's side. I reached out immediately to him. Secretary Davis reached out immediately to him. Dawari West reached out immediately, Dawari George reached out immediately to him. Michael West as well. And I went house by house, call by call. The only person I was unable to bring on board at the time was Ujukaye Flagamakri. But we went step by step, because I understood immediately that reconciliation was important and is key. Today, we have, of all of them, one candidate that is not there. Every other candidate has come on board, and that's good. Magnus is a totally different issue. We'll deal with that at the primaries, and well, welcome to a free fight. I say to Senator Magnus, and I say this on air, when we get to the primaries, if I come out on top at the primaries, I expect after all of these years that he will give me 100% support for building APC as a party. And I repeat the same to him, that if he comes up on top, he has my support. Regarding IOCs and all of that, we have to bring them back. But it's going to take 20 years at least to clean Rivers State up. 20 years. It's a lot of work.
All right. APC Guber aspirant for Rivers State, Mr. Tonye Cole, thank you so much for being on Newsnight tonight. We wish you the best.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gossip.